My in-laws demanded, "You'll sign the house over to our son if you want to keep this marriage alive," so I called my lawyer and filed for divorce. Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe, say hello below, and tell us where you're watching from. Your support truly means everything. Let's continue. I should have known something was wrong when Tristan asked me to dress nice for Sunday dinner at his parents' house. We'd been married 3 years and casual was always the vibe with the Johnsons. But there I was, smoothing down my navy dress in their foyer, smelling pot roast and feeling my stomach twist with unexpected anxiety. "Baby, you look nervous," Tristan whispered, squeezing my hand. His touch felt different somehow. Clammy. Guilty. The dining room was set like Thanksgiving. Crystal glasses I'd never seen before caught the chandelier light. Tristan's mother, Joanne, sat at the head of the table in a burgundy suit that screamed business meeting. His father, Robert, wore a tie. His sister Carol smirked from across the table, her phone face down beside her plate. A rarity. "Ariel, sweetheart, sit down," June said, her smile not reaching her eyes. The pot roast turned to ash in my mouth during small talk. I kept glancing at Tristan, but he wouldn't meet my gaze. 20 minutes of weather discussion and church gossip before Joanne dabbed her lips with a cloth napkin and cleared her throat. "We need to discuss your living situation," she announced. My fork froze midair. "Our living situation?" "The house," Robert added, his voice flat. "The one you inherited from your grandmother." "My grandmother's house. The 3-bedroom craftsman she'd left me 2 years ago, mortgage-free. The house Tristan and I had repainted together, where we'd planted roses in the backyard, where I'd imagined raising children." "What about it?" I asked carefully. Joan smiled. "We think it's time you signed it over to Tristan. Officially. For the sake of this marriage." The room tilted slightly. "Excuse me. It's really quite simple," Joanne continued, pulling a folder from beside her chair. She slid it across the table like a legal document in a divorce proceeding, which, looking back, was grimly prophetic. "We've had our attorney draw up the papers. You sign the house over to Tristan and we can all move forward as a family." I stared at the manila folder like it was a snake. "Move forward from what? What are you talking about?" "Don't get emotional," Carol interjected, rolling her eyes. "It's just about protecting family assets." "Family assets?" My voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. "That house was my grandmother's. She left it to me. It has nothing to do with—" "Everything you have is Tristan's concern," Robert interrupted, his tone brooking no argument. "That's what marriage means. What's yours is his. Legally, you should have done this already." I turned to Tristan, waiting for him to defend me, to tell his family they were being ridiculous. He was studying his plate like it contained the secrets of the universe. "Tristan." My voice cracked. He finally looked up and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Resentment. "They have a point, Ariel. I mean, we're married. Why does the house have to be in just your name?" "Because my grandmother left it to me." I couldn't believe I was explaining this. She worked 2 jobs for 40 years to pay off that house. She wanted me to have security. "And you do," Joanne said smoothly. "You have Tristan. You have this family. But right now you're being selfish. That house should belong to our son. If you truly loved him, this wouldn't even be a question." The manipulation was so blatant it took my breath away. Around the table, they all watched me with varying degrees of expectation and hostility. This was an ambush. A calculated, premeditated ambush. "I need to use the bathroom," I whispered. In the bathroom, I gripped the sink and stared at my reflection. My grandmother's voice echoed in my memory. "Baby girl, never let anyone make you feel small for protecting what's yours. Some folks will smile in your face while reaching for your pockets." I splashed cold water on my face, watching mascara-tinged droplets fall into the porcelain basin. 3 years of marriage. 3 years of family dinners, holidays, supporting Tristan through his entrepreneurial phases that never quite panned out. I'd been the stable one, the breadwinner, while he found himself. And now they wanted my house. I opened the bathroom door and nearly collided with Carol. She didn't move, blocking my path with crossed arms and a smug expression. "You know he cheated on you, right?" she said casually. My heart stopped. What? Last summer. Some girl from his gym. Joan found out and made him end it, but... He shrugged. He's still my brother and family comes first. So you can either sign those papers and we all pretend you're good enough for him, or you can make this difficult. Make this difficult? I repeated numbly. Tristan wants the house, Ariel. He's tired of living in your grandmother's house like some kept man. You embarrass him. But if you sign it over, maybe this marriage can work. She smiled, cruel and bright. Otherwise you'll lose everything anyway. Tristan deserves better than some stubborn woman who won't even share her assets with her own husband. The words hit like physical blows. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Carol squeezed past me, her perfume cloying in the narrow hallway. When I returned to the dining room, they were all eating dessert like nothing had happened. Peach cobbler. My recipe, I noticed with bitter irony. The one I'd taught Joanne last Christmas. So, Joanne asked, setting down her fork. Have you thought about what we discussed? I remained standing at the threshold. Every eye in the room fixed on me like predators watching prey. Tristan wouldn't look up from his cobbler, and that cowardice told me everything I needed to know about my marriage. Let me make sure I understand, I said slowly, my voice steadier than I felt. You want me to sign over the house my grandmother left me, the woman who raised me when my mother couldn't, who worked herself to the bone to give me something solid, because it'll make Tristan feel more like a man? That's not, Tristan started, but I cut him off. Was I talking to you? The sharpness in my tone surprised everyone, including myself. No, I'm asking your mother. Joanne, is that what you're demanding? Joanne's smile tightened. I'm asking you to do what any good wife would do. Put your husband first. Stop being selfish. Selfish, I repeated, tasting the word. I paid for Tristan's business certifications when he wanted to be a personal trainer. $1,500. I didn't ask him to sign anything. When his car broke down, I co-signed for his new one. My credit, my risk. When your husband had that health scare last year, Robert, who do you think covered those medical bills your insurance wouldn't pay? Robert's jaw tightened. That was a loan. Was it? Because I never saw a dollar back. But I'm selfish because I won't hand over my house. I laughed, a harsh sound that didn't feel like it came from me. The house I own outright. The house that's the only thing of value I have in this world. You have Tristan. Joanne slammed her hand on the table. You have this family. But if you can't appreciate that, if you're going to choose a house over your marriage, then what? I challenged. You'll what? Tristan finally found his voice. Then maybe we need to reconsider this whole thing. The room went silent. Reconsider. I stared at my husband, really seeing him for the first time. The weak chin he hid with a beard. The way he'd always been more boy than man, running to his mother whenever life got hard. How had I missed this? Ariel, you're not being reasonable, Tristan said, his voice taking on a whining quality that made my skin crawl. We're supposed to be partners. But you act like everything that's yours is untouchable. Do you know how that makes me feel? How you feel? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Your sister just told me you cheated on me last summer. With someone from your gym. So tell me, Tristan, how exactly should I feel about signing over my security to a man who couldn't even stay faithful? Joanne gasped dramatically. That's a vicious lie. Is it, Carol? I turned to his sister, who suddenly found her phone very interesting. Because you seemed pretty confident in the hallway 10 minutes ago. I was testing you, Carol stammered. To see if you'd throw Tristan under the bus over gossip. And you just proved you don't trust him. The gaslighting was so absurd I almost laughed. Almost. But there was nothing funny about standing in a room full of people who'd clearly planned this intervention, this coordinated attack on my boundaries and sanity. Here's what I think, I said, grabbing my purse from the chair. I think Tristan told you he wanted the house. Maybe he's got debts I don't know about. Maybe he's got another woman he's trying to impress. But you all decided the easiest solution was to bully me into signing over my property. You thought I'd fold because I'm conflict avoidant. Because I've spent 3 years trying to be the perfect wife, the perfect daughter-in-law. Ariel, Tristan stood reaching for me. I stepped back. Don't. I'm going home. To my house. And you can all think very carefully about how this conversation went. If you walk out that door, Jun said coldly, you're choosing that house over this marriage. Over this family. I met her eyes. No. You made that choice for me. My hands shook so badly I had to pull over twice on the 15-minute drive home. Each time I gripped the steering wheel and forced myself to breathe through the panic threatening to overwhelm me. The streetlights blurred through tears I refused to let fall. Not yet. Not until I was safe. Tristan called 6 times. I let every call go to voicemail. When I finally pulled into my driveway, my driveway to my house, I sat in the darkness and listened to the messages. The progression told a story. Message 1, baby, come back. We can talk about this. You're overreacting. Message 3, you're being childish, Ariel. My family was trying to help us build a future together. Message 5, fine. Stay at the house tonight. But we're discussing this tomorrow and you will apologize to my mother. Message 6, his voice cold, unfamiliar. You have 48 hours to think about what matters more, your pride or your marriage. Choose wisely. I deleted them all and walked into my grandmother's house. Her house. The hardwood floors she'd refinished herself. The kitchen where she'd taught me to make her famous peach cobbler, the recipe Joanne now used to serve guests at dinner parties. The living room where Grandma had sat me down at 16 and explained how the world worked for Black women. You want to know the secret to survival, baby? She'd said, her aged hands holding mine. Never let anyone convince you that protecting yourself is the same as being selfish. People will use your kindness against you. They'll call it love when they're really asking you to set yourself on fire to keep them warm. I hadn't understood then. I understood now. I called my best friend Denise at 11 p.m. She answered on the first ring. They what? Her outrage warmed something frozen inside me. I told her everything. The ambush dinner. Folder. Carol's revelation. The ultimatum. Girl, no, Denise said flatly. Absolutely not. You're calling a lawyer first thing tomorrow. A lawyer. Ariel, listen to me. This is financial abuse. This is manipulation. And the fact that Tristan sided with them? He showed you exactly who he is. Believe him. Monday morning I called in sick to work. A first in 3 years. By 9 a.m. I was sitting in a lawyer's office in a high-rise downtown, watching a woman named Angela Davis flip through the folder I'd somehow had the presence of mind to grab from Joanne's dining room table. This is... Angela looked up, her expression carefully neutral. This is quite aggressive. Can they force me to sign it? My voice sounded small in the tastefully decorated office. Absolutely not. The house was your separate property before the marriage. It's not a marital asset. She set the papers down. But I'll be honest with you, Ariel. This document concerns me for other reasons. These aren't standard property transfer papers. This is a quitclaim deed that would transfer ownership to Tristan with no compensation. If you'd sign this, you'd have no legal recourse whatsoever. You'd essentially be gifting him a property worth, she glanced at her notes, approximately $350,000. The number hit me like cold water. I'd never actually calculated my grandmother's house's current market value. And that's conservative, Angela continued. This neighborhood's appreciating fast. In 5 years you could be looking at $500,000. Maybe more. His family made it sound like I was being selfish. Like refusing was somehow betraying my marriage vows. Angela's expression hardened. That's financial manipulation. Classic abuse tactic. Let me ask you something. Does Tristan contribute equally to household expenses? I hesitated. He contributes what he can. His personal training business is still building. How long has it been building? 3 years. And in that time, you've paid the property taxes, utilities, maintenance, and presumably most living expenses? I nodded, shame heating my cheeks. Ariel. Angela leaned forward. You're not being selfish. You're being targeted. And I think you need to consider whether this marriage is protecting you or exploiting you. The word, exploiting, landed like a bomb. Because once she said it, I couldn't unsee the pattern. Tristan's mysterious business meetings that never generated income. his expectation that I'd handle all bills while he invested in his future. The way he'd slowly isolated me from friends who questioned his ambition. How Joanne had gradually inserted herself into every aspect of our lives, from decorating choices to vacation plans. I want to protect myself, I said quietly. Tell me how. Angela recommended a forensic accountant. Just to be safe, she said. Before you make any decisions, let's see the full picture. That picture emerged over the next 2 days, and it was uglier than I'd imagined. My accountant, a meticulous woman named Teresa, spread papers across her desk like crime scene evidence. Your husband has 3 credit cards you don't know about, Teresa said. Total debt, $67,000. And here's the concerning part. He's been making minimum payments from a joint account you rarely check. The one you deposit your bonuses into. I felt physically sick. What did he spend it on? Based on the statements? Restaurants you've never been to. A gym membership at an exclusive club across town. Not the Planet Fitness he claims he goes to. Several large purchases at jewelry stores. She looked up. Did you receive any expensive jewelry in the past year? No. Then I'd start asking who did. The room spun. I thought of Carol's comment about Tristan's affair. The gym. The mysterious charges. It wasn't just one betrayal. It was systematic deception. There's more, Teresa continued gently. He took out a personal loan 6 months ago. $50,000. He listed your house as collateral. He what? The loan application shows your forged signature. It's obvious fraud. The signature doesn't match the others in your file. But if you didn't report it immediately and if the house were to transfer to his name, he could legitimize it, I finished numbly. That's why they want the house. Teresa nodded. He's underwater financially. If he defaults on that loan and you haven't signed over the property, the bank will discover the forgery. He could face criminal charges. But if the house is legally his by the time they investigate, it becomes a civil matter between you two, which he could drag out for years. I sat back, the full scope of the betrayal crushing my chest. This wasn't about hurt feelings or family dynamics. This was fraud. This was my husband and his family trying to steal my home to cover up his crimes. What do? I whispered. You protect yourself, Teresa said firmly. And you do it fast before they escalate. I went home that evening to find Tristan already there, sitting on my couch like nothing was wrong. He smiled when I walked in, that charming smile that had made me fall in love 4 years ago. Hey baby. Glad you're finally ready to talk. He gestured to the coffee table where he'd laid out takeout from my favorite Thai place. I got us dinner. Thought we could discuss this like adults. I set my purse down carefully, my phone tucked in my pocket with the record function already running. Angela had insisted. Tristan, I need you to be honest with me about something. Of course. His smile dimmed slightly. What's this about? The loan. The $50,000 loan you took out 6 months ago using my house as collateral. The color drained from his face. Who told you about that? So it's true. I'd hoped desperately that Teresa was wrong, that there was some explanation. But his reaction confirmed everything. Ariel, I can explain. Did you forge my signature? I was going to tell you. Yes or no, Tristan? Did you commit fraud using my property? He stood, his hands raised placatingly. You're making this sound worse than it is. I needed capital for the business. The bank required collateral. I knew you'd say no if I asked because you're always so cautious about money. So you committed a felony instead. My voice was eerily calm. You forged my name on legal documents and put my home at risk. And then you and your family tried to manipulate me into signing it over so I couldn't press charges when I found out. It's not like that. His voice rose. The business is about to take off. I'll pay back the loan. But I needed you to trust me and you never do. You always act like I'm some failure, like your money is more important than our partnership. Where's the money, Tristan? What? The $50,000. Where is it? Show me the business account. Show me the equipment purchases, the marketing materials, the business plan. Prove to me this was actually about your career. He couldn't. We both knew he couldn't. Some of it went to expenses, he mumbled. Like jewelry for another woman? Like an expensive gym membership at a club I don't even know about? Like dinners at restaurants we've never been to together. His expression shifted from defensive to angry. You had no right to investigate me. You had no right to steal from me. I grabbed my keys. I want you out of my house. Tristan didn't leave. Instead he called his mother. Joanne arrived within 20 minutes, Robert and Carol in tow. They entered my house without knocking, and I knew immediately this was the escalation Angela had warned about. You've upset Tristan terribly, Joanne announced, sweeping into my living room like she owned it. All of this drama over a simple misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? I laughed bitterly. He committed fraud. He used my house for an illegal loan. Illegal is such a harsh word, Robert interjected. You're married. What's yours is his. He made a business decision. Using forged documents. Prove it, Carol said smugly. Prove you didn't know about the loan. Prove you didn't give him permission. It's your word against his, and you've already shown you're willing to lie about him cheating. The gaslighting was so blatant, so coordinated, I actually felt dizzy. This was their strategy: deny, deflect, accuse me of being irrational. Get out of my house, I said quietly. We're not going anywhere until you sign those papers, Joanne said. You've had your little tantrum. You've made your point. But this ends now. You're embarrassing this family. I'm calling the police. And tell them what? Joanne's smile was cold. That your husband's family came to visit? That we're trying to save your marriage? You'll look hysterical. She was right and she knew it. I could see it in her satisfied expression. They'd thought this through. They'd planned for my resistance. But they hadn't planned for Angela. I pulled out my phone and dialed. Hi Angela. Is they're here now? They're refusing to leave. Can you conference in the police? Yes, I've been recording everything. Thank you. The satisfaction drained from Joanne's face. You're recording us? Every word since you walked in without permission. Which, incidentally, is trespassing. And you've just admitted on tape that you're here to coerce me into signing documents under duress. Angela, did you catch all that? Angela's voice came through the speaker, crisp and professional. Every word, Ariel. I'm sending the police to your address now. They should arrive in approximately 5 minutes. You ungrateful, Joanne started. I'd stop talking if I were you, I interrupted. Everything you say is being recorded and will be used in the divorce proceedings. Tristan's head snapped up. Divorce. The police arrived to find Tristan's family still in my living room, their shock at my newfound backbone almost comical. Almost. There was nothing funny about watching my husband's face crumble as I handed officers the documentation of his fraud, the forged signatures, the evidence of financial deception. Ma'am, you'll need to come to the station to file a formal report, the older officer said gently, clearly picking up on the family dynamics at play. Tristan grabbed my arm. Ariel, please. Don't do this. We can fix this. I pulled away. You're right. We can fix this. With a divorce. The word hung in the air like a guillotine blade. The next week was a blur of legal appointments, restraining orders, and evidence compilation. Angela worked with a prosecutor on the fraud case while simultaneously filing divorce papers. Tristan had 3 days to vacate my property. He'd spent them alternating between begging for forgiveness and threatening to destroy me in court. He has no case, Angela assured me during one of our many meetings. The house is your separate property. He brought debt into the marriage, not assets. And the fraud? That's criminal. He'll be lucky if he avoids jail time. But the Johnsons weren't going down without a fight. They hired an aggressive attorney who tried every tactic in the book, claiming I'd been financially abusive, that I'd isolated Tristan from his family, that I'd denied him access to marital assets. They painted me as a controlling wife who'd emasculated their son. The character assassination was brutal. They posted on social media about gold diggers who trap good men. They called my workplace with complaints about my mental instability. They showed up at my church spreading rumors about my grandmother's house being bought with dirty money. Denise became my lifeline. Let them talk, she said fiercely. The truth always comes out. And you have receipts. He was right. When we appeared before the judge for the preliminary hearing, Angela presented a timeline that painted a devastating picture. Tristan's mounting debt coinciding with my grandmother's death. His sudden interest in marriage counseling that conveniently included discussions about financial transparency, where he'd pressured me to combine all accounts. The loan application dated exactly 1 week after I'd refused to refinance the house in both our names. This was a calculated long-term scheme to defraud Mrs. Johnson of her separate property, Angela told the judge. And when that failed, his family attempted to coerce her through emotional manipulation and threats. The judge, a black woman in her 60s with steel-gray hair, looked at Tristan with open disgust. The divorce moved faster than anyone expected. Tristan's attorney kept trying to negotiate, offering to drop the house claim if I dropped the fraud charges, suggesting couples counseling, arguing for Tristan's rehabilitation potential. But Angela was merciless. Your client committed a crime, she said flatly during mediation. My client is willing to not pursue the full extent of criminal charges if he signs the divorce papers immediately and pays restitution for the legal fees she's incurred defending herself. Otherwise, we're prepared to take this to trial and he'll face felony charges. Tristan's face crumbled. Errol, please. I made mistakes, but I love you. We can start over. I'll go to therapy. I'll do anything. I looked at the man I'd married and felt nothing but pity. You don't love me, Tristan. You loved what I represented. Security. Stability. A house you could leverage for your schemes. But you never loved me enough to respect me. That's not true. It is true. And the saddest part? I would have helped you if you'd just been honest. If you'd come to me and said you needed help, needed money, needed support, I would have given it freely. But you lied. You manipulated. You tried to steal from me. That's not love. Joanne tried to interrupt. You're being dramatic. Mrs. Johnson, the mediator said firmly. You're not a party to these proceedings. Please remain silent or you'll be asked to leave. It took 6 hours, but Tristan finally signed. No house. No alimony. He'd repay my legal fees at $100 per month. Probably for the rest of his life given how much this had cost. In exchange, I agreed not to pursue criminal charges beyond the fraud report already filed, which would remain on record but likely result in probation and community service. As Tristan signed the final page, his hand trembling, I felt something shift inside me. Not joy exactly. Not even relief. Something deeper. A reclaiming of myself. I hope you find someone who makes you happy, I said quietly. Someone you respect enough to be honest with. Someone you won't try to rob. He looked up, tears streaming down his face. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I believe you, I said. And I did. He was sorry. Sorry he got caught, sorry he lost his meal ticket, sorry his scheme failed. But he wasn't sorry enough to have not done it in the first place. I walked out of that office a divorced woman. 6 months later, I stood in my grandmother's kitchen making peach cobbler from her original recipe. Denise sat at the counter, her daughter playing in the living room, filling the house with laughter it hadn't heard in years. You seem different, Denise observed. Lighter. I feel different, I admitted, measuring cinnamon with the same measuring spoons Grandma had used. Like I finally understand what she was trying to teach me. The divorce had cost me more than money. I'd lost mutual friends who believed the Johnsons' version of events. My church had been awkward for months until I'd finally switched congregations. There were nights I'd laid awake wondering if I'd overreacted, if I should have tried harder to make the marriage work. But then I'd remember Tristan's face when he thought I'd signed those papers. Joanne's cold calculation. The systematic way they'd tried to separate me from my inheritance, my security, my future. Did you hear Tristan declared bankruptcy? Denise asked carefully. Carol posted about it. She's blaming you naturally. Of course she is. I slid the cobbler into the oven. I'm the villain in their story. The woman who wouldn't sacrifice everything for their son. And in your story? I thought about that. In my story, I'm the woman who learned to choose herself, who honored her grandmother's sacrifice by refusing to give it away to people who saw me as an asset to be leveraged rather than a person to be loved. My phone buzzed with a notification. An offer on the house, from a young couple expecting their first child. I'd listed it 2 weeks ago, finally ready to let go of this chapter. The memories it held were precious, but I was ready to build something new. The profit would fund a down payment on something smaller, more mine. Maybe a condo downtown. Maybe a tiny house with a garden where I could start fresh. You're really selling? Denise asked. Grandma didn't leave me this house to trap me in one place, I said. She left it to give me options. Freedom. And I'm choosing to use it differently than she did. She needed stability after chaos. I need possibility after betrayal. The oven timer dinged. I pulled out the cobbler, golden and perfect, steam rising into the afternoon light. In that moment, I understood something profound. The best way to honor someone's sacrifice isn't to clutch it desperately, but to use it as a foundation to build something even better. I thought about Tristan sometimes, usually with a detached sort of sympathy. The fraud charges had resulted in probation, community service, and a felony on his record that would haunt him for years. Joan no longer spoke to me, which was perhaps the greatest gift she'd ever given me. But I'd heard through mutual connections that she still blamed me for ruining her son's life. As if I'd been the one who forged signatures, who created a scheme to defraud, who chose pride and greed over integrity and love. You think you'll trust anyone again? Denise asked, reading my expression. Romantically, I mean? I considered the question while cutting 2 slices of cobbler. Maybe. Someday. But differently. My grandmother used to say that love without respect is just pretty words over ugly intentions. I'll never forget that again. We ate in comfortable silence, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not the absence of conflict, but the deep, bone-level certainty that I'd made the right choice. That I'd chosen myself. That I'd protected what generations of strong women had built, not through greed, but through understanding that some things are worth more than harmony. Worth more than a marriage that required me to set myself on fire to keep others warm. Worth everything. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Share your own experiences in the comments. Sometimes just knowing we're not alone makes all the difference. Remember, protecting yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. And you deserve to survive with your dignity intact. What would you have done in Ariel's situation? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want more stories about standing up to toxic family dynamics, check out my playlist on setting boundaries. You're stronger than you know.